Brilliant. Thank you very much, colleagues. Welcome to this breakout group 4, dedicated to further discussing the ways how climate services can contribute to mission adaptation, achieving the very ambitious goals, and also to EU adaptation strategy. I see we are quite a few from academia and from the supporting offices. Perhaps if you could open your video camera, I would perhaps very quickly allow you to introduce yourself, just to break the ice, and then we jump directly on the questions. So, Paula, let's start with you. 5 seconds.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paula. I'm from the BSc, and I'm working in Climate Europe 2, like helping with the work package 1 in the standardization framework, also like mapping some of the projects related with climate services in Europe. And well, I'm really happy to join this conversation about climate services and the mission adaptation, because I also have a lot to learn.
Thank you, Paula. Andreas?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Andreas Fulbock. I'm at the Climate Service Center Germany at the Arion Center in Hamburg, as you can see from my background. And within Climate Europe 2, I'm responsible for the co-lead of work package 4 on the market development. And we did, as you perhaps some of you, I don't know whether somebody was in that session, this morning, we had a joint session on standardization and quality, which is somehow also related to this topic here, as we have seen from Paco's questions that he put out in his last slide.
Brilliant, thank you. Paco already introduced himself, so let's go to Stacey.
Hi everyone, so I'm Stacey New. I'm at the UK Met Office and I work mainly in work package 6 in Climate Europe 2, so around community building, and yeah, I'm a climate services scientist by trade.
Brilliant, thank you. Then Rosanna.
Hello everyone, my name is Rosanne Mata. I'm a scientist with Climate Analytics, which is a research and policy nonprofit based in Berlin, and I work on adaptation. That's probably the broadest way to put it.
Thank you. Dragan.
Hi everyone, I'm from Serbia, from National Hydrometeorological Service. I work at the operational jobs of monitoring, climate monitoring and seasonal forecasts, and I'm involved in disaster risk reduction also. So in this project, the service are involved in 3 packages, 2, 4, and 6. And I had also the problem like the Stacey, because we are a government institution, I didn't know what to put. So you can policy. Okay, I can put policy if you like.
Thank you very much, Dragan. Mauro and Chiara are from the supporting team. If you would like to say a few words, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Mauro Bonocore. I'm working in communication and outreach at CNCC and dealing with, I'm contributing to the working package on communication and outreach in Climate Europe 2.
Thank you. Chiara?
Hello, everybody. I'm from the CMCC team. I've just joined Climate Europe 2 project, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexandra?
Hi, I'm Alexandra Kric from the Republic Hydrometeorological Service of Serbia. Also, as Dragan already said, we are part of the work packages 2, 4, and 6, and we are more representatives of the public sector. And also, we are not part of the EU, so we are very interested to hear about the mission adaptation and how we can incorporate it in our national policy. Maybe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Martina?
Yes, hello, my name is Martina Stockhauser from the German Climate Computing Center. We are one of the smaller partners in this project, so we are just in work package 2 on data and data standards. A A part of my work is also the involvement in the large climate modeling projects like CMAP, the Coupled Model Intercomparison Project, and I jointly manage the IPCC Data Distribution Center.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And then Mara, who is the project officer of the project. Mara, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, hello, this is Mar Rodriguez. I'm the project manager of this big project. So, and I'll be here, yes, for learning more about the different activities of the project, and also to give support if you need something during this session.
Thank you very much, Mara.
Thanks.
So welcome and thank you again for having chosen this session. We were hoping to talk also to representatives from the mission regions and communities. It seems that they might attend more the other breakout groups, but nevertheless, it would be interesting to continue in our discussion what kind of climate services, quality assurance is needed in order to advance on the ambitious goal of mission adaptation. And then I would perhaps first ask Paco. Paco, thank you very much for the brilliant overview of the project and the opportunities to contribute to the mission adaptation. I believe that climate adaptation, the smart, faster, and most systemic approach of adaptation, all those three objectives are being served by better climate services, by greater use of and uptake of climate services, but also transparent application of services and so on. So perhaps I know that you have already answered the question, but would you like to reflect on those enabling conditions for transformative change, a part of which are also climate services? So we are building the capacity for the regions to really understand the risk and opportunities from adapting faster and in a more systematic way. What is your thought on that, just to break the ice of the participants?
Yeah, thanks, Jero. The kind of information that I think would be very useful to get from the signatories of the charter of the mission is in what way they are using the climate information available or provided by any providers of climate information is helping them or limiting their decisions. So it's to me it's clear that those that the decision makers at the regional and local level are the ones who know really what happens in their territory. They are the ones who are going to make the decisions. They risk the most because they are the ones who basically will face the feedback and the unhappiness of their populations. And somehow it would be extremely useful for us to know what is actually missing in terms of the climate information and the service that they require. So somehow it's at that level that we might need to act. So if what they need is a different kind of climate information that has uncertainty communicated in a different way, or that provides the information more relevant to the specific areas at higher resolution and not focusing on the same resolution at all in the whole space and area that they are managing, so be it. But it could well also be that they are the way this information is provided is not understandable by them, that they don't have ways to distinguish between information that is more reliable than others, and they just make decisions on the best provider based on which is a poor decision in terms of the most adequate information, not just in climate services, but in all kinds of decisions in life. So somehow I think we have a unique opportunity in Climate Europe to get close to those that are actually making decisions in a very difficult contexts in which many other factors which seem much more urgent come in, and for which probably climate information is not fully accessible, understandable, or applicable in spite of the climate services community being willing to think otherwise. So that would be my initial thoughts.
Thank you very much, Paco, for that. Before giving the floor to Andreas, I think it is a common experience then if you are facing a user, be it a regional administration or local board, and you are asking what you need, the answer is not readily available. So the co-development of climate services spans over to also identifying the opportunities, explaining and co-designing the type of adaptation that is really needed together with the regional administration. So probably we have the barrier. It's not readily available. What do you need? I think the answer will not be straightforward. Andreas, what do you think?
Yeah, just from my perspective or my impression, I've governed here from almost my first year in this business. And we have here, well, an institution which is presumably 100% dedicated to climate adaptation and to climate services dealing with climate adaptation. What I learned here is that it is so essential to really identify the right people, to reach out to those people who first of all, we think are the most relevant ones with respect to climate adaptation. And the first step is then not to ask what are you looking for. Sometimes it should be user driven. Yes, yeah, that's something we all repeat over and over again, that this process should be user driven. But first of all, we have to talk a little bit about the problem and what we see where they might need climate adaptation in the, say, years to come, and then develop jointly with them a solution, just by saying, well, here are the projections for climate change. Please select one and then think about what you might need for your town, for your community, for your area. This is obviously not what they want, and they want information which is really then on a very often on a very small scale. And my scientists here working with communities are saying, well, what is always often lacking is are the resources on the user side, so that they don't have enough resources to really go through the whole co-design, co-creation process, and they also would like to have also some help with the implementation of the measures that are being developed. So, and there perhaps it's not just the academic community that is called for action, but as we have heard this morning, the salt in the soup, or more than the salt in the soup, are people which can deal with dealing with social sciences and have a different view and approach on that. So this is also something which we have perhaps not have seen in that intensity as it might be required for a good adaptation strategy.
Thank you very much, Andreas. So this is very pertinent to our discussion. Information on the small scale resources, taking into account the resources needed from the user side, the role of intermediaries, helping to translate the knowledge and working closely together with the service providers. Brilliant. Martina, I was hoping to ask you a question or pass you the floor as you're working in this field. Let's see, what kind of experience can you share from your perspective? You with users, what do you work also with public authorities, or is it only commercial users that you're working with?
Yeah, it's difficult to answer. I would say that we mostly, or I mostly work indirectly with the partners. So we have in Germany the German IPCC coordination office, and through that channel I get in touch with some requests, but as our share of the data is more the physical base of the data, most of the users are more directed to, say, those providing Codex data, but not the global projection data. So it's a bit in the IPCC context, I would say, that we have a bit of discussions towards policy decisions, but it's the same here. So we are more the second role or advisors giving recommendations from our data perspective. So we are not in the first row of policy advisors.
And to what extent do you hear requirements to make very clear the quality of the data that you are providing? What kind of criteria do you apply when you are supplying those data? Do you have some thoughts on that? How do you ensure the quality matching the requirements?
I would distinguish between what is our role as long-term archive and repository and what's more the role of the scientific community, so to say. So as a repository, what we grant is consistency of metadata, giving access, so the FAIR criteria. So that's more the technical things that we are responsible for in the end. But we rely on the scientific community for quality. And we have seen that in different phases of CMIP. It's an ongoing topic. We discuss it every phase, I would say. How can we improve that? We can do a lot on checking for the standards, so the naming conventions, CF standard names. But what's really difficult is this fitness for use, this scientific content. And that's really something where we rely on the scientific community to agree on how to do that. I would like to name one tool which is community driven, which is the ESM-WAL tool. So this is a really community driven evaluation tool. And that's how I think these quality tools have to be developed.
Thank you very much, Martina. Alexandra, can I revert to you and asking to share your view and experience from your work?
Hi, yeah, for sharing data and cooperating with the policy and policy makers, so we have a lot of working groups that all governmental bodies are gathered on some issue, like preparing national adaptation plans, other action plans, or disaster risk reduction, like risk assessment. But from our experience, like any data or information regarding the climate change and projections are coming from the academia. That is a strong group that usually providing those kind of data, while we have observational data and monitoring, and we are applying all the quality measures and standards that are prescribed by the WMO, and that Amir had this morning, the presentation on that. So basically we have divided who is responsible for which actions. But at the end, every document must be approved by each governmental body and assigned by the government. And so, but
Brilliant. Yeah.
yeah, you were talking about EU adaptation strategies. We are not part of that, but we are, because we are in the pre-accession process, we are trying to follow regulations that the EU are proposed. So, thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alexandra. Just to complement, you are accessing the European Union, but you are eligible to access the research and innovation funds. So you might be part of the mission and innovation, mission adaptation to climate change, even if you are not a full member of the EU, right? So this is opportunity for your policymakers as well.
Oh, okay, we do. I wasn't aware of that, because on the map in the previous presentation, we were white, our area of Southeastern Europe. So we can make a check of that thing.
Thank you very much. Then may I turn to Stacy from the Met Office. Do you think you could share some views from what you are doing in the UK?
Yeah, sure. So the Met Office do support, although we don't advise on policy, we do support the government in the decision making by providing the most up-to-date climate information that we can. So data and information that we gather from across the world. So, using European data, but also producing our own climate data and observations. Being a meteorological office, we do this. Personally, in my job, I work with the users directly. So, I'm very lucky to be able to take the information that the Met Office creates and produces and use that to co-develop, co-produce something with a user. So, for example, currently working with in China with Chinese tea farmers, and we're trying to co-produce a seasonal forecast with them. So it's a really good experience in working with Chinese colleagues. So, we're supporting each other to improve our models. So not only using seasonal forecasts developed by the Met Office, but also supporting our Chinese colleagues in the development of their models as well. So I'm very lucky to be in a situation where I'm actually engaging with the users and helping to translate the climate information, not only in a different language, but also making it easily understandable. I can't remember who said, but brought up this, this barrier where the information can be too complex and not easily understandable by different groups. And that is something that we really try to do in our team at the Met Office, is kind of translate this really complicated information in a way that you can make these.
Oh, thank you very much, Stacey. Andreas.
Just a quick question to Stacey. Are those people in China the end users, or is this also an academic audience you're talking to?
It's a mixture. So we are actually engaging with the end users, so the farmers themselves, but we are co-developing it with our Chinese partners. So in particular, I'm working with a scientist in the University of Yunnan, and she's an expert on tea, and we're working together to kind of understand users' needs and kind of develop this seasonal forecast together.
Yeah, so that's why you just elaborated that you have to find a common understanding of your scientific outcome or your data outcome and the needs of the users that trying to adapt this.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much, Ella. Then, Dragan, may I revert to you to share your experience and your views on what we are discussing here, the delivery of climate knowledge to those that might benefit from it?
Yes, as I told you, I work at the climate monitoring. So the users of this are the public, general public, and usually the press, the media. Yeah. So they're interested in the extremes and what it was like last month, or some, for instance, like this incident in Libya, that they're interesting. So I usually go to TV studios, or I write to the press and go to the radio stations and give some interviews. But basically, I cooperate with the public offices, public health offices, for issuing warnings on heat waves during summer and cold waves during winter. And usually during summer, some alerts on UV index. We issue usually every day if there is a need. And we cooperate with the sector for emergency management of the Ministry of Interior. We issue warnings. We are part of the climate watch system of WMO. So we try to take a look in advance if something is coming 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance to get them prepared. And then usually the colleagues from the this forecast 5 to 7 days ahead, they take over when it comes this event. So as you already told, the co-production of the products is very important. But if you ask the users, they won't give you the answer. So you have to come to them with something and offer them, this is what we can do, this is what we have. So then you find yourself somewhere, they then can express their needs or wishes, and you find yourself in the middle somewhere and create a good product that satisfies them and that you can create.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dragan. So I would like to revert to Paula. Paula is from the team that is supporting the regions and communities. So from our discussion so far, you might see we come from mostly from the climate scientists and climate service providers. So we look at the matter from our point of view. So this group is very knowledgeable about what the weaknesses and opportunities are in the data, but is struggling a little bit with positioning these opportunities within the context of public administrations or private sectors and so on, to identify what this information might be used for. And I would like to ask you from your work or from your working experience, how common those insights are, how frequently you come across similar difficulties in communicating or working together between scientists, or whether you have some interesting example from the mission implementation platform on the mission regions that you work with that might be interested for us to learn and to know more. And I anticipate then perhaps I will afterwards revert to Paco again. And what I sort of sense from our discussion is that the quality criteria for climate services and the delivery of climate services that comes from this group, that's normally defined by scientists. So I sense that in the answer that for the quality assurance, basically the market is looking at scientists and expect from scientists to define what is the quality. So if you could share your thought afterwards, whether this is the right way or whether we are missing something fundamentally important. So Paula, first to you.
Well, actually, I am working at this moment, like mapping the different climate services projects that are being developed since like in the Horizon Europe funding scheme. So I realized that, yeah, I had some problems in maybe identifying which are the people related with are the end users of these projects, like maybe sometimes lack of information in that sense. So I have to go deeper and deeper on looking at these projects like more carefully to see, detect which are these end users and their needs, and trying to identify, yeah, like the demand-driven like aspect of the projects, and sometimes like the descriptions of the projects are more from a scientific point of view, and this is actually kind of the biggest problems I am like seeing right now. And I think there's also because maybe there's a need of like putting a more effort in like highlight this aspect of the climate services. So yeah, this is one of the things I have realized the most. And before like starting this project, I have been like supporting some NGOs before arriving to the BSc, and there we had a lot of conversations about the importance of users when addressing a project, because they it has to be, we have to have a full overview and speak with them and completely understand what are the needs, to be sure that what we are doing actually addresses the real problems that they are facing, and to don't damage even more their situation. So yeah, I'm really concerned about these things, and I think it's really important to take it into account.
Thank you very much, Paula. Paco, would you like to reflect on that question?
Well, I think that one of the ideas that emerge from the different interventions here is that one of the elements missing, or that is not that clear so far, is the importance of the operationalization of the delivery of climate information. So Stacey offered a very good example that is a bit straddling the areas of research and operations. Operations understood as the delivery of climate information for to a specific user or set of users that are going to incorporate that information in their decision making for good. I mean, not just as an exercise, but as an additional piece of information for them to be competitive, for instance, in the tea market. So the point is that this is done very much driven by research, as you were suggesting, Jero. It seems that the whole discussion is pointing continuously to the role of research and probably in academia, while many decisions in climate sensitive sectors are being made using probably suboptimal climate information, maybe because they are not that well connected to research, maybe because climate services hasn't really managed to come out of the academic world and make a clear step into real operations, even outside Met services, which has been very good so far, but they have their own limitations as well. Maybe because the private sector is making their own way into climate services and we are not aware of it. So something, I have the feeling that something's missing, and that WMO can help us, but probably not solve the problem by itself. And when my expectation was that the participants in the mission would help us to identify all these missing pieces, or at least several of them. No, and to me, it would be really useful if at the end of this Webstival, we could identify one example of a climate service that we are not aware of, and one example of a climate service that we are not aware of, and that is actually a bad example. And I think it would be very telling if this is pushing us in a direction that is not the traditional one, where we know how to behave. Sorry, I went on for too long, but
no, that was brilliant. Thank you, Paco. Andreas, over to you. I apologize for
no, that's
letting you wait.
No problem at all. I can only underpin what has been said by Paco and just before by you and Paula. So we are still missing here a substantial part of the community, if you like, by not having a private sector really present and only knowing somehow how it works, or also knowing somehow about the limitations. I had over the past month tried to dig in to consultant companies who offer advisory for climate risk assessment, for climate information, where you well, it's not transparent, at least from the outside, what kind of information they are using, how they are working with that data, with that information, which is in the back, somehow in the back. I hope, at least I hope so. And so we have to get more knowledge about that. I think this is required, because there are many companies in the industry and economies that are using these kind of services and rely on these services. They trust these services for any reasons, because, well, they're perhaps well-known companies, and they charge you a lot of money. Perhaps this is an argument for being trusted. Hopefully not, but so we have to find out how this works, and what the beneficiaries and perhaps positive and negative sides of the coin are, and this is somehow also on our payroll, that we have to look into that in the next month.
Thank you very much, Andreas. So everybody, we have still some 5 minutes time before we will be asked to return to the plenary. Any thought that you would like to share with the group? So there were many interesting points, pinpointing that we are missing something in the quality assurance, as the whole certification or the quality insurance in general is more driven by scientific pursuit. Then there might be some companies that are disconnected from scientific context, and that the services they apply are black box. So nobody's looking into whether they satisfy the requirements, whether they are fit for purpose, and so on. So this is something that will underpin the importance of Climate Europe 2, to focus on the standardization, which lowers the transaction cost, enables the user to pick up the most useful, most quality assurance service, or at least make a explicit trade-off between the price of service provision and the quality. But any thought that you would, like to share on these from your perspective? Paco, again.
Just a probably something a bit controversial, but somehow I wonder how many decisions are being made with suboptimal information. So, for instance, how many sectors, decision makers in all different climate sensitive environments are adapting, for instance, to a future that is not what they are finding. So how many are being affected by the multiple heat waves that are happening in our areas, that heat waves that are repeated? How many of them are aware of the current discussions about the likelihoods or increased apparent likelihoods of glacier melting in Antarctica and the corresponding sea level rise? So these are things that probably are not in people's minds when they are making decisions based on climate information, and that might have important consequences even in the short term. So unfortunately, we don't have many decision makers here that could tell us if that's within their radar.
Very good point. I can only add that many information are indirectly influenced by wrong information or suboptimal information. For example, the whole exercise of disclosing climate risk-related financial risk are often based on data that are not suitable for this purpose. So data that often comes from scientific environment and have been produced for completely different purpose. So if you take the Peseta 4 flood maps and then make your own service and indicate to the banks and financial institution which property fall within the Peseta 4 identified hazard maps, that this is not a good climate service, but nobody knows. Right, so this is dangerous. So indirectly, as the investor, are influencing their choices based on wrong use of climate services. Well taken. Any other thoughts? I'm not sure whether this session will close basically when we are supposed to go back, or we are supposed to remember that 15 minutes before the end we need to get back. Paula, can you help me with that?
Let me ask, because I think we are automatically back to the plenary session.
Because as soon said, I see you in 45 minutes. The 45 minutes are up, right? So for the last 15 minutes, probably we should go to the plenary. Okay. So let's take 1 minute more if somebody would like to reflect on the topics that we have been discussing so far. No? Brilliant. So thank you very much. I mean, this was really good. This was an interesting discussion. It's pity that we didn't have the public administration and government representatives with us. They will be there next time. I mean, for them, it's also new, and they are probably still getting used to talk to scientists on climate risk or adaptation matter. So thank you very much, and feel free to return to the plenary room by
Thanks,
clicking
Jaro.
leave the
Thank you.
room, not leave the meeting, right?
Thanks.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.